Our very special guest is an author, a Hall of Famer, a guitar player, an amazing songwriter, a Maritimer, a former Montrealer, and one of the driving forces in the Canadian music business in the last 50 years. Myles Goodwin. Hello, Myles.
Hi, I thought you were talking about Anne Murray for a minute there. Yes,
I guess I could again. Miles
almost.
Miles is back in the Maritimes, where a lot of people, especially people in Montreal, don't know that's where it all started, right, Miles? It all started in the Maritimes all those years ago.
Yeah, well, I was born in New Brunswick, but I left when I was a toddler and lived in Nova Scotia all of my all of my life up until we left Montreal in 1970, Halifax for Montreal in 1970. But the band formed in 1969 here in Halifax.
And you're back there. You've come full circle, and the Maritimes is a special place for you, eh?
Yeah, it is. I have family. I have friends here. I love the ocean. I've
Yep,
missed it while I was away, and
we are ready.
and it's so close by down here. No matter where you are, the ocean's not very far away. And we have a cottage down here in the ocean, and the fish, and the smell, and the seagulls, and the just everything about the Maritimes is wonderful. The food is a little bit different because of the seafood, and people are friendly. It's a little slower pace down here, and it's wonderful. This is where I belong.
Are you?
Miles is here to. Sorry, Terry. Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead, Ted.
Miles is here to tell us about his new album, Long Pants, which was released in June. Miles, is that right?
June 23rd on my birthday. Yes.
First thing I want to know is where did the title Long Pants come from?
Well, a lot of the songs are some of the songs are serious. It's adult mature material, and so I just thinking that adults wear long pants and kids wear short pants, and so I called it Long Pants.
And it's all new material. Is some of it? I know on your blues albums there were some songs that you had in the safe for a long time that you brought out and put on those blues albums. Is this all new material, or is some of it older as well, older and unpublished?
It's older and unpublished. Actually, the record goes back to like 40 years. Literally, my daughter was born 40 years ago. Her name is Amber, and there's a song on here called "Forever Amber." And I wrote it the morning she was born. I mean, probably 3 or 4 hours after she was born, I went from the hospital in Montreal to my home, and I went to the recording studio, exhausted, and very very tired. I sat down at a piano and I wrote "Forever Amber," and I recorded it 40 years later. This I recorded about 6 months ago, and every single word, every single note is exactly as I wrote it that night before I went to bed. And all these years, my kids would say, "Well, Dad, why don't you record that? So beautiful." And I said, "Where? It doesn't fit on an April Wine album. It doesn't fit on a blues album, but it fits on this one because this is a personal record."
Has that been freeing a little bit, Miles, since you've sort of, yeah, I mean, I know you're still playing with the guys, but since you sort of not broke away, but you became known as your own artist, your own guitar player, your own blues artist. Did that free you in some sense when you sat down to write or record?
It did. In about '07, not long after that, or maybe '08, I said to the band, "I want to slow down. I want to do fewer dates," because we were doing like 65 shows a year, let's say. And I said, "I want to cap it at 30 because I have other things I have to do. I've been tethered to April Wine all of my life. I have other things that I must do." And since then, I've written two books. Just between you and me was the Toronto Globe Mail bestseller. I wrote two blues albums, award-winning blues albums. So, I've used my time
Hmm.
well. Um, and I wouldn't have been able to do it if I hadn't said that those many years ago. And I tried to do a solo album because this is a solo album, and the blues are solo albums. I tried to do a solo album back in about 1973 or four, and I'd written almost all of it. It was ready to go, and the records at the last record company said, "No, we need an April Wine album right now." So it became an album called "Forever for Now." I wrote that song and I gave it to April Wine, which had "You Won't Dance with Me," which is a very personal song. "You Won't Dance with Me" it has that Everly Brothers kind of vibe and everything. It wasn't right for April Wine, but it became an April Wine hit. So, but this time, these days I can do my own thing as well as still cover April Wine.
Those songs.
You've tied a pretty cool. Sorry, Terry, I keep cutting you
It's
off.
because of our delay. You go ahead.
You've tied a pretty cool giveaway into this record, Miles. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I'm a guitar collector, and I've been collecting all of my days, and I probably have close to 100 guitars. And I have a collection of Morris guitars, which were made in the mid 70s in Japan, and they're really well built, and they really were copies of Gibson and Martin in particular. And but they're great guitars, and they're collectibles. And I have a collection, and one of them, the one I'm giving away, is one of those guitars. It's a Morris acoustic guitar, and it's a beautiful looking, a beautiful playing guitar. And so I'm offering that to as a prize in this contest that runs from July 6th until August 6th. If you buy my CD, you enter. You have a chance to win this guitar.
We're going to play a song off the album. It's called Will the Last Voice I Hear Be an Angel? Quite a reflective number. Myles, tell us about that.
Yeah, that's I wrote a spiritual song. I hadn't ever tried before, but I decided to do this. I wrote the chorus. I went to my partner Kim, who is very religious. She doesn't talk about it. You never know what she is. And I'm not so much more spiritual. I took it to her and I said, "Here's the chorus. What do you think?" By the time I had finished the chorus, there were tears in her eyes. She says, "You got to finish this. I smell money." So
Well,
so anyway, and the funny thing is, within a week, I get this call from Los Angeles out of the blue saying, "Would you be a judge on our spiritual writing contest, songwriting contest?" I said, "Wow, what a coincidence that is! Why in the world would you ask me to do that?" And they said, "Well, we like your writing." And I said, "Sure." So I was on the panel, and then I finished the song, and here it is. It's on Long Pants. Again, a mature subject.
The album is called Long Pants. Where can people find it, Myles?
Well, right now it's on, you go to my website, which is mylesgoodwin.com. It's a company called Collingwood Merch Company, and they handle a lot of artists, including my product. It's not on Spotify. It's not on YouTube. It's not on iTunes. I don't want it there at this time for my own reasons. So that's the only place you can get it. Or live when we tour live. At April Wine Show are my own shows that I do quite a few shows too in the summer, and it's available live on in the merch world at live shows.
Here is the aforementioned track from Long Pants. It's Myles Goodwin and Will the Last Voice I Hear Be an Angel? Saturday morning with Terry and Ted on Lite 106.7.
Miles, we'll continue for a couple of minutes, and I'll we'll put, like I said, we'll put the conversation up on YouTube. I,
You know what we can do also, Ter, is we can turn this into two breaks on the show.
mhm. Okay,
We can say, we'll be back with more
sure,
with
sure.
Myles later on in the show.
Miles, do you find yourself becoming more reflective as you get older?
Well, I think we all do at a certain
Yeah.
age. I mean, my birthday was June 23rd, I'm now 74 years
Oh,
old,
for you.
and that's really something, because you start to wonder, well, how much longer can I do this? And I think that's part of what motivates me to produce music because I know I've only got so much
Right.
time. And yes, and I do reflect, and I think we all do. Some of us, get to that stage sooner. But for the last few years, handful of years, for me, it's really hit home as like looking back and reflecting, being back in the Maritimes. I have grandchildren now. They're both still quite young. One's 8, just turned 8, and the other one's even younger than that, a lot younger than that. So yeah, I'm grandpa now. I'm a lot of things, but it's been quite the journey. So thinking back over it is, and my own mortality and all those kind of things is kind of what's expected. I think at this time in life.
Last night I was looking at the your website and the schedule. It's a pretty busy schedule in the summer, Grandpa. You're going to be doing a lot of dates, and I wondered if you do you still enjoy it, and do you still love playing those songs that basically is the soundtrack to our life?
Hell no.
Okay.
Seriously.
That's not true. You're making that up. You still enjoy it.
So weeping
I
is a pain in the
I
ass?
I've been saying this I've been saying this for a long time. I know a lot of people that say this. It's such a cliche. Uh, it's the travel they pay us
Yeah,
for. It's the travel. It's not playing. That's wonderful
yeah.
to be up on stage playing for people. I was speaking to Gene Cornish just the other day, and I have his book. I could show it to you, but it's not here. It's called "My Life as a Rascal," and Gene Cornish was a guitar player for the Rascals, and at one point the Young Rascals. And I was talking to him about 2 weeks ago, and he told me about his book, and I got it right away. And he's going out with Felix Pappalardi, the keyboard player from the Rascals, and they haven't worked together in a long time. And I started excited. He says, "Yeah, but it's the travel. That's what they pay me for. It's the travel. It's not the playing." And I said, "Amen. It's
Yeah.
true. You know,
Do you
the travel is difficult, especially now. Right now with the prices
oh,
of flights and the scheduling problems and the airports themselves, and rentals and gasoline and just everything's so much more expensive right now, and it's harder to manage. And with COVID, let's not
yeah.
forget COVID. Half of my band got COVID last time we were out, not that long
Do
ago.
you remember, the first time you heard an April Wine song on the radio and what kind of feeling that was, Miles?
Well, not really. I mean, not exactly. I could, I'm not going to pretend, but it was Fast Train,
Mhm.
and obviously it was a wonderful moment. I can't remember where I was, if it
Right.
was in a car or I was somewhere else, but I know, and I felt wonderful because you finally get your song on the radio and you hear it and you crank it and you go, God, that's us. Yeah, that can only happen
Yeah.
once. It's well, yeah.
And what kind of buzz was it? I'm sure I've asked you this before, so forgive me if you remember. What kind of buzz is it to tour stadiums in the United States and be on stage or with the Rolling Stones or play in front of a crowd? Some of the crowds you played in front of in the 1980s were massive.
They were massive, yeah. Yeah, I played, I was on the same bill. We were on the same bill as other artists. I didn't realize it till much later. I mean, years later, I didn't realize say, California Jam of 1981, the Doobie Brothers were there, that, Cheech and Chong were on the show, and so many artists over 2 or 3 days. And you see our name on there with all of these artists. Said, "Oh my God, it would have been wonderful just to do my part and then just sit back and watch everybody else," because it seemed like everybody was on that show. It's a long, long list over 3 days. Santana, I just went on and on, but yeah, the part of it is the nervousness that's always there. It's a good thing. You've heard that before. It's one of those cliches in the entertainment business. If you're not nervous, something's wrong before you're backstage, before you go on. So that's always it. That's the pro in us, the desire to do well, and not suck. But my friend Matt Anderson says all the time, "Okay, Miles, well, just remember, don't suck." Anyway, so uh, this is the thing is that's the only problem, because once you get on stage, it's all the
Yeah.
same. You know what I mean? It's the same song, same thing. Everything's the same, same, same. There's a sea of faces. You're lucky if you see them during the at a night show. It's dark and lights, and during the day, it's nice to see just a sea of literally 20,000 people in front of you.
Well,
And I've done that a number of times. It's very exciting. Yeah.
sorry, Ted. I thought you were going to say hello.
No,
Okay.
sir. I'm sitting here like a bump on
Yeah,
a
very
log.
good.
I thought he was asleep.
So they when you go out for these shows this summer, Miles, I would imagine it's you that puts together the set list and decides what you want to play or what you think people want to hear. How do you come to that? How do you come to that conclusion with a catalog such as as vast as yours?
Well, you only have so much time, and you know what people want to hear. So you start there.
Right.
You got to do Roller. You know, you got to do Just Between You and Me. You got to do Sign of the Gypsy Queen. You got to do Say Hello. You got to do these songs. Then you want to do these songs like Wouldn't Want to Lose Your Love, which I do, and I would perform acoustically, or Rock and Roll's a Vicious Game. Tonight's a Wonderful Night to Fall in Love. You Could Have Been a Lady. Bad Side of the Moon, and it goes on. And so they want to hear
Yeah.
that. So you just kind of put them in a nice order, good flow, and everything else, and you throw in maybe for the real fans, an album track or two.
Yeah.
We never really perform something new in front of an audience, especially in later years, because it's so easy to rip people off now. Before the only song I remember ever doing live before we recorded was Roller. And when Roller started off, it was very, very complicated. I had so many changes in that song. And then April Wine got to play it live, and I understood it more and more as we played it, and the reaction from the audience. So it eventually became the song that we have now, which is a lot better than when it started off. There's too much fat, so we had to trim a lot of that off. And Frank Sinatra said once, "I'll never record a song until I sing it live."
I didn't know that.
He wants to get comfortable. He doesn't want to put on a pair of shoes that have never been worn before. He wants to wear them in a little bit before he's comfortable, and then he's able. Then he'll record. It's different for him, but it's a really good philosophy in a lot of ways.
Those songs that you mentioned, they're like a murderer's row of hits. Like it's just one after the other of hits. You talked about being reflective. Do you look back with a certain amount of pride on that?
Well, yeah, I do. I do. I mean, obviously, and radio has been so good to us over the years. I mean, um, I still hear April Wine's music all the time. I don't. I mean, I don't sit around dialing in stations to see if they're playing my stuff, but I know they
Yeah,
do.
they do.
My royalty check sometimes can be like, $8,
Yeah.
$10. No, not yet. No, no, no. I know from the royalty statements that we're getting a lot of play still, and I'm very grateful because that's why people are filling the seats today.
Yeah.
That's why our shows sell out. We just did a show; it's been around 15 years, big
Yeah.
festival, biggest attendance they've ever had. So that's really nice, and that's because of radio.
Yeah.
And the fans.
Royalty checks are really good for retirement.
Yeah, it's like an annuity. It's like an annuity,
Yeah.
and that's
They call it, the
yeah.
artists call it mailbox money. You go to the mailbox and there it is.
Oh, that's what I've never heard that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, Myles.
Terry talked about that murderer's row of songs. One that you didn't mention, and I don't imagine that you left it out deliberately. It just didn't get mentioned. But I think it's my favorite April Wine song, and maybe it's because I'm about 10 years older than those. Than when the songs in the 1980s came out. Weeping Widow. I love that song. Do you still play that?
That was Trooper, Ted.
Get out of here. It was not. He's pulling your leg, Birdman.
I know.
Yeah, that was Jim Clench singing that
Oh,
song.
was it?
Yeah, that was written by a fellow named John Wright, an American. We received that song and did it way back when Jim Clench was in the band,
That's
and he sang
a wicked guitar lick. That guitar lick,
Yeah.
that parks in your brain when you hear that song.
That was on Electric Jewels. Is that right?
Yeah, that was when we went from the original band to the new band, which included Gary Moffat and Jerry Mercer, and then Jim Clench. Yeah, Jim. Now Jim Henman was the original bass player. We started this band together. Jim and I have been friends since 1963, and I talk to Jim almost every single day.
Nice.
Yes, and he's part of my trio. He's part.
I was going to say, yeah, you're still playing together too.
We still play together. I mean, we played in Woody's Termites. Our high school band when I wrote "You Won't Dance with Me."
Woody's.
Yeah, I swear to God, I know. We wore. You know what? All the good names were taken. So
I guess so.
and so we and we used to dress in black, and we had these reversible vests. So like one side was brown suede and the other one was this yellow woolly kind of thing. So the first half of the night we looked like cows, and the second half of the night we looked like sheep. It was very catchy. Yeah,
Myles, let's plug the album one more time before we let you go, and let's give people your website so they can get in on that contest. That's amazing.
Yes, I don't know if you can see it, but there's the new record. It's called Long Pants. Yep. And the contest runs from July 6th to August 6th. You can win a guitar. And how you do that is go on MylesGoodwin.com, the website.
And I should mention that's where you can find the dates. I see you're coming out my way at Maple Ridge in August. I may see you there.
Yeah, okay, great. And my books are there and all kinds of things are there. People want to drop by and have a look.
Okay. Myles, thanks so much for doing this. We appreciate it. Sorry about the technical issues, but I think we got them all squared away. Right, Chris? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Myles. Great to see you.
Thanks, Myles.
Thanks, guys. It's been fun. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. See you later.
Too.